Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Wendy. I am a registered nurse and I'm also currently a family nurse practitioner student. And as you guys know, on this channel I do share my nursing advice, my nursing journey, as well as bits and pieces of my life. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys what questions I asked myself and what it is that I took into consideration before I made my final decision to quit. So if you guys are interested, then keep on watching. So first of all, if you are a nurse, then you already know how selfless nurses can be. Sometimes we put ourselves last all the time because we always try to put others, our patients first, our family first, everybody else but ourselves. And that's the one thing that we really need to consider when we're making this decision, because for so long I feel like nurses have always felt that that's the norm, and it's not, you guys. If you really take into consideration yourself, you need to take care of yourself. Now, do keep in mind that putting yourself first does not mean that you're selfish. Some people might think that, but how will you care for others if you don't even take care of yourself? Put yourself first always, you guys. I am not kidding you. That is how burnout happens, especially in the medical field, in the nursing field. We burn out so fast because we don't take care of ourselves. And I know as nurses, we always want to be so selfless and we want to put everybody else first, our patient, our coworkers, our job, our children, our spouses, our family, everybody else but us. So that's definitely the first thing that I put into my mind as soon as I started to think more and more about this decision. I said to myself, Wendy, you're going to put yourself first because you do matter, and what you do want for yourself does matter. So keep that in mind if you're considering quitting your job. Always put yourself first. So anyways, I do want you guys to know that I am looking at my phone because I have everything written down because I didn't want to miss anything. So if you see me looking down, that is why. Now, the second thing that you need to consider is boundaries. You need to know what your boundaries are and you need to set them. If you realize that those boundaries that you have for yourself are not being acknowledged by others, then it might be time for you to either take action and say something about it, or it's time for you to go. And that was definitely something that, for me, I always knew that school was my priority. And the moment that something came in between school and me getting to my end goal, then that was it. So you need to know your boundaries and you need to set them. Number 3. So the third thing is that you need to know what your goals are. So once again, school is my main priority. It is my goal to become a family nurse practitioner. So if in some way that goal was seeming more and more further away than what it should be, then that means that something is getting in between my goal, in between what I want, in between my dreams. So that was the third flag, at least, that I saw within me. And I was like, okay, why does it feel like I have to choose my job and school? When school is truly my priority, I shouldn't have to. So that's how I also came to my final conclusion of quitting. If you're at the point where you're considering to quit, keep these things in mind because you need to be sure about quitting. You're not just gonna quit because you're upset or because you hate your job. I mean, I guess you could, right? But I didn't want to do it that way. I left that job that I truly didn't want to leave, but I had to in order for me to get to my end goal. Those 3 things were things that I really needed to think and consider before making my final decision. And once something starts getting in between my main priority and my main goal, then that's red flag right there. And that's when I really started to think more and more about just quitting. Next thing you really have to think about is the pros and cons of leaving your job. Okay, for everybody this is different, because you know, we all live different situations, we all live different lives. Not everyone's life is the same. You know, I'm single, I'm not married, I don't have kids, so it's different for me. You might be married, you might have kids, you might be a single parent, you might be taking care of your mother, your father, your disabled child. I don't know what your specific life situation is, but everyone's life situation is individualized, and you need to make sure that you consider the pros and cons of leaving your job. Make sure that you sit down in a quiet area, hopefully a quiet area, maybe like, I don't know, before you go to bed or in the morning. You sit down and you write down the pros and cons of leaving your job, because you need to make sure that you are able to visualize that on a paper. Now, the other thing, right? Once we lose our jobs, you guys, that means there's no income coming in. So it's important that you, of course, take into consideration if you have money saved. How are you going to pay your bills? You need to think about all that. Oh, also the other thing, you're not going to have a job, which means that you're not going to have insurance, like health insurance, unless you're married and you have a spouse that can put you on their health insurance plan. But if you don't, you need to take that into consideration as well. How are you going to have money to pay for that health insurance? Which I do want to mention in this video that when I was doing my research, this is not the option that I chose, but I want to mention it for you if you are interested in something like this. It is a cheaper alternative to health insurance. From what I understood, it is not health insurance, but it kind of counts. When you have to do your taxes at the end of the year, you won't get billed for not having insurance, and it's the Christian Medishare plan. I'll write it down here, but it seems like it's cheaper. And I don't want to tell you like more information because I'm not absolutely sure exactly how it works, but I know it's cheaper because I had read into it. So all those things are things to consider. I mean, how are you going to live if you're not going to be having an income? When I made the decision to quit, I spoke to my family and I told them what it was that I wanted to do and how I was thinking that it was going to work and everything, and they supported me. My parents were super supportive, and they said, yeah, like if that's gonna make you happy, if you really want to focus on school, then do it. So I advise that before you go and quit your job, that you talk to your family. And if quitting your job is gonna make you happy, then I think your spouse or anybody else who you're talking to will be happy and will be supportive of your decision if that's something that you want to do. Like I said, everyone's life is different, and I can't tell you like, okay, if your spouse says to not leave your job, like do it anyway, you know what I mean? But it's something that you need to consider. And I think if they're being supportive and if they truly understand why it is that you're making that decision, then they will support your decision. So make sure that you also include them in the final decision so that they also know what's gonna be going on afterwards, because you're not gonna be having an income, and hopefully they are supportive. Like I said, you also need to consider your monthly bills. You need to make sure that before you quit, that you also look at your bank statements and see how much money you have saved, what it is that you're spending your money on. You'd be surprised. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but I rarely would look at my bank statements, which is horrible, I know. But when I started to look back, like a few months ago, I was like, oh my god, all my money goes to Starbucks and food. Like, seriously? Seriously. It's crazy. And of course I have monthly bills, but it's like most of the money did go to food, which is crazy. So once you are able to see what it is that you're spending your money on, then you know, okay, well, you need to cut back and you need to save your money because you're not going to be working. So stop going to Starbucks to spend $5 on a drink every day. The other thing that I noticed when I was looking at my bank statement is that I had so many things that were on auto pay. Yeah, they were like my Beachbody account, which I never even used. I know, like I used it years ago and it was charging me this whole time because I never looked at my bank statement. So make sure that you look at your bank statement and that you cancel those auto payments that you are no longer using. I also was paying for a resume like site thingy. Like, why am I spending all this money? I also want to make sure that I point out in this video that it's important that you take time to consider everything that I have mentioned in this video. You don't want to just make an abrupt decision and decide to quit the next day just because. You know, you really want to be sure about this decision. This is going to be a life-changing decision that you're doing, unless you already have another job already lined up for you. But if you don't, then you need to make sure that you are aware of the big decision that you're making. So don't just come up with these pros and cons and list all these things that I'm telling you to consider today and then go the next day and quit, you know. I want you to make sure that you have cleared your mind from everything. Think about it very well before you make that decision, before you decide to actually go in and put your 2-week notice. And the last thing that I truly advise that you ask yourself, and only yourself, because you're the only one that has the answer to these 2 last questions, and that is, are you happy now in your current situation at work? Are you happy? And the other question that you're going to ask yourself is, will this make you happy? Will making the decision to quit your job make you happy? If the answer is yes, then you already have your answer. But make sure that you take into consideration everything that I've mentioned to you, because it's not just quitting your job and leaving, you know. There's so many things to take into consideration, so make sure that you do. And I wish you the best of luck in whatever decision it is that you make for yourself, because I'm sure that it will be the best decision for you, because you're the one making your decision and not anybody else. So anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to give this video a like, share it with anybody who you think might find it valuable, and I'll see you on my next video.